Before your loved ones cried, before your body was even cold, before the room fell silent after your final breath, something else began. You weren't gone. You weren't lost. You were opening. Because death is not the end. It's not the descent into nothing. It's the passage into 7 forbidden realms your soul must cross, not to vanish, but to remember. You see, what we call death is only the beginning of a pilgrimage, a return journey, a sacred unfolding that few speak of, and fewer remember. These realms aren't marked on any map. They exist beyond time, beyond light, beyond what language can carry. And yet, they are more real than this body you once wore. Right now, you may not consciously remember them, but your soul does. You felt them in dreams where gravity didn't exist, in moments where time slowed down during grief, in flashes of déjà vu when nothing made sense, and yet everything did. You've brushed the edges of these realms before, but now we're going to walk through them together. Because there will come a day, maybe soon, maybe far, when this path will be yours again. And when it is, you will not walk it blindly. You will remember. So breathe with me now, not just with your lungs, but with your spirit. This is not a story. This is your memory. This is the journey your soul takes in the first sacred moments after death. Realm 1, the echoing veil. The first realm is not a tunnel or a blinding light. It is a veil, thin and humming, stretched between 2 worlds. As your soul detaches from the body, you enter this veil not with steps, but with presence. It feels like mist and memory, like walking through a dream you had as a child, but forgot until now. The air is soft, but charged. Every particle sings with your life's final frequencies. The last thought you had, the last emotion, the last heartbeat. But you are no longer inside the body that housed those sensations. You're watching it from a short distance, floating just beyond the skin you wore, feeling both weightless and disoriented. Here, in the echoing veil, everything you've ever been begins to unfold. Not in punishment, not in judgment, but in reflection. You feel the imprints of your choices like subtle vibrations against your being. Not like a slideshow, but more like a song. Your soul's signature melody, reverberating across the veil. You hear voices, but they're not outside you. They're inside you. The voice of your mother calling your name. The laughter of a friend you lost too soon. The silence of someone you never forgave. These are echoes, not ghosts. They are the traces of connection, unspoken love, and unfinished energy. The veil does not forget anything. It doesn't hold grudges, but it holds resonance. The residue of emotion you carried through your life, now gently rising to the surface. You do not feel fear here. What you feel is vastness, as if you've become the entire sky. And in that vastness, every suppressed emotion, every buried desire, every act of love or harm hums like a tuning fork, being struck just once, but echoing endlessly. And yet, it's not overwhelming. It's illuminating. The echoing veil is where you begin to remember who you really were. Not the role you played, not the identity you wore, but the soul behind the performance. And that remembering is bittersweet. You feel your own truth with such clarity. It brings a grief that has no shame in it. A grief that says, so that's who I was. That's what I missed. That's what I loved. There are no beings here yet. No guides. No gates. Just you, and the veil between form and formlessness. You might linger here for what seems like minutes, or centuries. But time has already begun to loosen its grip. The more you surrender, the more the echoes quiet, until you hear something else, something deeper. Not a sound, but a pull. Like gravity from a world you've never walked, yet always known. The veil is thinning, and beyond it, something calls you forward. Realm 2, the river of unraveling. You do not walk into the second realm, you dissolve into it. As the veil fades behind you, what greets your soul is not a place, but a sensation. Like falling upward into water made of memory. There is no shore, no direction, no current. Just a river that flows in every direction at once, and you are both within it and becoming it. This is the river of unraveling. Here, your attachments begin to loosen, not because they were wrong, but because they were heavy. The names you answered to in life, son, wife, leader, broken, hopeful, failure, beloved, they drift away like paper left in the rain. They don't vanish. They return to source. And yet, you feel each one leave you, one by one, slowly, kindly. At first, you may resist. The mind, still echoing in fragments, clings to identity. I was someone. I mattered. I was alive. But the river is patient. It holds no argument, no force, only truth. And in its depth, you realize you are not being erased. You are being revealed. You begin to feel the many versions of yourself you became, the masks you wore, the dreams you chased, the wounds you carried. All of it gently peels away like silk. No pain, only awareness. Like watching your entire life exhale. In this realm, the soul begins to remember itself not as a single lifetime, but as a thread woven across lifetimes. And that thread is now floating in luminous stillness, no longer knotted by personality, by pain, by pride. You feel the weight you carried in silence, the guilt you didn't speak of, the forgiveness you withheld even from yourself. They appear not as punishments, but as images made of feeling. You see the moment you judged someone who needed your compassion. You see the moment you turned away from your own truth just to be accepted. These aren't accusations, they are recognitions. And as you acknowledge them, they dissolve. No one is watching you here. No higher power is judging you. The river of unraveling is not about being measured. It is about being lightened. You may weep in this realm, but the weeping is not sadness. It is release. A surrender of everything that kept you small when your soul was always vast. You may feel a deep ache, but it does not hurt. It cleanses. Sometimes souls linger here longer than they expected, because in the absence of ego, something astonishing happens. Love returns in full. Love for yourself. Love for those you misunderstood. Love for the moments you once called mistakes. You see them now as classrooms, not to excuse them, but to embrace them, to complete them. Here, even shame loses its name. You begin to understand the soul never failed, it only forgot. And the river, it keeps whispering you back to your essence. Somewhere, far beyond this realm, another gate begins to pulse. But you are in no hurry. For the first time in what feels like eternities, you are free of pretending. You are not your fears. You are not your accolades. You are not even your story. You are becoming again. And in this formless, radiant river, what falls away does not die. It transforms. You feel yourself reshaping, not into someone new, but into someone original. And just as the last thread of identity floats away like a feather in still water, you feel it. A presence. Not outside you, but around you. A gentle warmth. a guidance, not a being, yet unmistakably intelligent. You are being called. The next realm awaits, and it is unlike anything you have ever remembered. Realm 3, the mirror of forgotten names. The light doesn't change when you enter the third realm, but you do. You rise from the river of unraveling lighter, translucent, almost song-like in your vibration. But just as you begin to feel the sweetness of release, the next gate greets you with silence again. Not emptiness, reverence. This is the mirror of forgotten names. You do not find this mirror. It finds you. It does not show your reflection as you were, not your body, your gender, your smile, or your age. What it reveals is the essence of every name your soul has ever worn. Lives you never remembered, faces you've never seen, eyes that looked through history but blinked in your skin. You stare, and the mirror does not move, but it ripples like breath across still water, and with each ripple a name returns. Not spoken aloud, just felt deep in the marrow of soul memory. You see yourself as a mother in ancient Egypt, as a monk in silence who prayed in stone temples you've never visited, as a child who died unnamed in a forgotten war, as a healer, a warrior, a poet who never wrote, a beggar who forgave, a judge who failed, a stranger who once chose love over pride. Lifetime after lifetime reveals itself not as punishment or reward, but as a spiral of experience. You were not good in all of them. You were not holy in all of them. But you were becoming in all of them. Here, in this realm, the soul must confront something most are unprepared for. Your greatest pain in this life may have been the echo of your own action in another. The betrayal you felt may have mirrored one you once caused. The fear you carried may have been born from something you once inflicted. The grace you offered may have healed a wound centuries old. This is not karma in the way the world explains it. This is soul balance, sacred alchemy. You begin to see how you have been everyone and no one. Every face has been yours. Every heartbreak, a reflection. And just as you might begin to despair at the weight of all those lives, the mirror changes. It softens. And then it shows you something else. It shows you the thread that weaves through all of them. A single light, unbroken. You realize you were never lost. You were never split. You were simply learning through contrast, remembering love by tasting its absence, remembering truth by living through illusion. This mirror is not here to punish you. It is here to integrate you. And so, in the hush of this realm, something happens. You begin to welcome those forgotten names, not as masks, not as ghosts, but as pieces of your whole. You bow to them, and as you do, they bow back. You are not here to be ashamed of who you've been. You are here to carry their wisdom forward. And then, the mirror dissolves. Not shattered, not closed, just complete. You feel something behind you now. A new stirring, a gate unlocking. And what lies ahead is not a reflection. It is recognition. In the next realm, something will remember you, and you will remember why you came. Realm 4, the field of soul contracts. There is no door into the next realm, no sound, no signal, just a feeling, like a memory that blooms too suddenly in your chest. You are not walking forward anymore. You are being pulled, not by force, but by agreement. This is the realm of sacred choosing, the place where nothing is hidden and nothing is random. You have entered the field of soul contracts. At first, it looks like a vast expanse of light, shimmering like the surface of water under a full moon. But as you move closer, the light begins to take shape. Threads, webs, luminous filaments stretching from your essence outward, connecting to others, some near, some impossibly far. Each one vibrates with a different frequency. Each one is a bond. You do not remember making them, but your soul does. Here is the contract with your mother. Not her name, not her body, but her soul. A vow made before either of you knew hunger or laughter. Here is the one with your first heartbreak, not to cause pain, but to crack you open, so something deeper could rise. Here is the soul of a stranger you passed on a train once. You exchanged no words, but your presence shifted something in them. That was not coincidence. That too was written. In this field, every meeting, every goodbye, every moment of unbearable beauty or incomprehensible grief is revealed to have been chosen. Not always by you alone, but chosen nonetheless. You see the difficult ones, the ones who hurt you, the ones you couldn't forgive, and suddenly, you feel it. They carried pain you once carried for them in another life, another story, another turn of the spiral. You begin to realize that forgiveness is not a gift for them. It's a homecoming for you. Here in the field, time folds in on itself. You are shown the contracts you've completed, the ones you broke, and the ones still waiting, hanging like stars not yet named. Some contracts are glowing softly, fulfilled in tenderness. Some pulse with heaviness, left incomplete, unresolved. But there is no judgment in this realm, only clarity. And then, something unexpected happens. You come upon a contract written with yourself. This one shines differently, deeper, older. It is the vow you made before you were born, to remember who you truly are, no matter how lost you became. To choose love even in fear. To speak truth, even when your voice trembled. To wake up, even if the world told you to sleep. And in this moment, your soul feels it, not as pressure, but as promise. You haven't failed. You're still becoming, and you're being met. Because in this sacred realm, you are not alone. Others are here too, not as people, but as presences. You feel them encircling you. Souls you've known before time wore names. They are not here to judge. They are here to witness. You realize you have never made a single choice in isolation. Everything is woven. Everything remembered. And then, as gently as it began, the threads begin to dim, not disappearing, just quieting. You are not meant to stay here. You are meant to carry its knowing forward. You feel your essence rise again. The next realm awaits, not with answers, but with the vibration of a name you've not yet remembered. And with your next breath, you will step into the most sacred of all encounters. Realm 5, the Garden of the Great Remembrance. You don't step into this realm, you dissolve into it. There is no gate, no sound of arrival, no divine herald announcing your entry. Only a vast, endless stillness that surrounds you like warm breath. A hush so profound, it feels like the entire cosmos has paused in reverence, waiting for you to remember something ancient. And then, it begins. Not with vision, not with voice, but with remembrance. A kind of knowing that does not come from the mind, but from the soul itself, long buried, yet never lost. You remember something you didn't even know you had forgotten. Not your name, not your story, not your family or your past, but what came before all of it. Before earth, before matter, before incarnation. This is Realm 5, the Garden of the Great Remembrance. But it isn't a garden of flowers and fountains. It's a garden of truth. Not metaphorical truth, not poetic beauty, but the unfiltered radiance of who you were before you became who you thought you had to be. Here, there is no judgment, no punishment, no need to prove anything. Only unveiling, only seeing. And what you see is yourself. Not the human version, but the eternal flame, the divine essence, the original breath of God that took form as you. You feel it ripple through you, the love that created stars now resting inside your being. You remember the feeling of being part of that love. You remember that you were not just made by the divine, but of it. And with this remembering, something extraordinary happens. Every moment from your earthly life, the betrayals, the heartbreaks, the missed chances, the silent prayers, the sleepless nights, they all rise like stardust in the air around you. But you don't recoil, because now you see them differently. You see the pain not as failure, but as initiation. The silence not as absence, but as preparation. The chaos not as a mistake, but as the fire that forged your soul's light brighter than ever before. You weep, not from regret, but from beauty. Because nothing was wasted, not a single second. Every moment you once called broken now glows. And then the divine appears, not as an image, not as a man, not as a judge, but as presence. Warm, loving, boundless, not separate from you, but within you. You feel the gaze of God, not watching you, but remembering you. As if her eyes have always known you, long before you were born, and suddenly you remember her too. She is not a figure in the clouds. She is the presence you always felt when you stared at the moon, when you held someone's hand in silence, when you wept into your pillow and didn't know why. She has been with you through it all, quiet, patient, loving. You realize now that your soul never stopped singing her name, even when your lips forgot it. And in this garden, something deep within you says, I am ready. You don't say it aloud. You don't have to. It's a knowing that radiates from your essence like light warming the edge of dawn. And just like that, you rise. Not as a return to pride, but as a sacred vow. Because now, you remember why you came. You remember what your soul promised before birth. And more than that, you remember who you've always been beneath the forgetting. You don't leave this realm with answers. You leave with something greater. Remembrance. Not of facts, but of flame. Not of identity, but of divinity. And the light that follows you now is not from this garden. It's from you. But this journey is not yet complete, because what comes next will ask you to walk through every shadow you ever feared and every truth you ever denied. Realm 6, the mirror of all that was. By the time your soul reaches the 6th realm, something strange begins to happen. The longing to go back, to touch the life you just left, starts to dissolve. Not because you've stopped loving, but because a deeper current pulls you forward. You begin to see the earth not as a place you've left, but as a painting you've just stepped away from. And now, for the first time, you can see the whole canvas. This realm is not filled with angels or halls of judgment. There is no gavel, no voice declaring right or wrong. What you face here is far more intimate. It is a mirror, but not made of glass or silver. It is made of memory, a living memory that stretches behind you like a tapestry. And within it, every thread is something you once thought, felt, touched, harmed, healed, ignored, or loved. The mirror of all that was is not interested in what others thought of you. It does not care about titles, possessions, or performances. Here, you feel the raw emotion of every consequence. You do not just remember the smile you gave a stranger on the bus. You feel how that smile softened their day. You feel the chain reaction it created. And you do not simply recall the moment you broke someone's heart. You feel the sting of it as if it happened inside your own soul. It is not punishment. It is awareness. A total, unfiltered recognition of your effect upon the world. And not just people, but animals, trees, water, air. You sense how your anger once rippled through a room like a thunderclap. How your tenderness soothed a friend's nervous system like sunlight warming a cold stone. You begin to realize nothing was ever small, not one glance, not one word. Everything mattered. But here's the beauty of this realm. Even your darkest moments are not met with condemnation. Instead, they are cradled with context. You begin to remember why you lashed out that day, the trauma behind your silence, the fear beneath your pride. You are not excused, but you are understood. You feel the forgiveness of your own soul, not as a gesture, but as a truth. The you that did those things is not the whole of who you are. You are a soul in process, ancient, layered, unraveling, and weaving again with every incarnation. In this mirror, you also witness the threads you left unfinished, the apology you never gave, the love you never received, the path you almost walked and turned away from. You feel them not as failures, but as invitations. Not you should have, but you still can. Because the mirror of all that was is not a final judgment. It is a sacred pause, a remembering, a recalibration. You begin to ask not, what did I do, but what did I become? And then, something breathtaking happens. From the mirror emerges not your past, but your essence. Your soul, stripped of stories, masks, roles, stands clear before you. And you see, you were never the mistakes, never the applause, never the shame, never even the name. You were and are light in motion, a flame dancing through form, learning how to become love through the friction of forgetting. This is the realm where many souls weep, not from sorrow, but from recognition. Because for the first time since death, you are beginning to remember who you truly are. Not a child of the earth, but a traveler of stars. And the path ahead? It leads to the final realm, the most sacred of all, the one no soul reaches until it's ready to let go of everything it ever believed and receive everything it truly is. Shall we walk on? Because now the veil is so thin you could breathe it away, and behind it awaits the realm of return. Realm 7, the realm of return. You stand now at the threshold of the seventh and final realm. There is no gate, no angel with a sword, no test to pass, just stillness, a stillness so pure, so infinite, that it feels like the breath of God before creation. This is not the stillness of nothing. It is the stillness of everything waiting to be born again. In this place, the soul no longer asks, "What did I do?" or even, "Who was I?" Here, the question dissolves. Here, you become the answer. The realm of return is not a destination. It is a becoming, a remembering, a reunion with the source, not just of your life, but of all life. And the moment you step fully into this realm, everything that was fragmented begins to come home. All versions of you, the child you were, the wanderer, the healer, the one who wept alone in silence, the one who touched another soul and changed their fate, all return to your center, not as ghosts, but as wholeness. You feel them not as memories, but as facets of a diamond finally remembering its brilliance. There is no shame here, no more longing, because there is nothing left to seek. You are no longer watching the story of your life, You are standing in the space that wrote it. The voices of guides, ancestors, soul companions, they begin to rise around you like music. You do not hear them with your ears. You recognize them with your essence. Their presence is not loud. It is familiar, as if the very fabric of your being has begun to hum with the same note as the divine. This realm, it does not offer reward or punishment. It offers alignment. Here, your soul stands at a sacred crossroad. One path leads to deeper union, to dissolve into the infinite light, to merge with the divine current from which all souls emerge, to become wave and ocean at once. Another path leads back to density, another incarnation, another name, another chance to love and learn and lose again. And in this moment, no one chooses for you. Not karma, not fate, not even God, only you. With all that you now remember, with all that you now carry, what will you become next? And just before the choice settles in your soul, something stirs, a pulse. It doesn't come from you. It comes from somewhere else. It is the pulse of the earth, the cry of a child yet unborn, the longing of a soul you once knew, waiting to meet you again. It is the whisper of unfinished songs, of love stories not yet lived, of a prayer someone will soon send up, a prayer only you can answer. And maybe, just maybe, you smile, because you now understand. To return is not to leave God, but to carry God into places that have forgotten how to feel. And so your soul begins to turn, not with fear, not with duty, but with devotion, because the realms have shaped you, the mirrors have cleared you, the light has remembered you, and now you are ready to fall into form once more, to open your eyes behind new ones, to walk beside souls you've known before, to forget and remember and love again. This is the realm of return. It is not a farewell. It is a bow. And when your soul bows, the universe bows with it. Because the journey is not over. It is beginning again. You've crossed all 7 realms, not as an outsider, not as a spectator, but as one who has known them before and will know them again. Because these realms are not just places, they are parts of you, the silence of the veil, the reflection of the mirror, the reckoning of the weight, the embrace of the ancients, the alchemy of the flame, the vastness of the great silence, and the calling of return. They are not destinations beyond this life. They are threads woven into every sacred moment of it. When you grieve, you are walking through the veil. When you forgive, you are shedding the weight. When you sit in stillness and something ancient stirs inside you, you are remembering the silence. This is the hidden truth. Death is not an end. It is a continuation, a return, a remembering, and life, this life you are living right now, is not a random accident. It is a pause in a much older story. So the next time you feel that strange ache in your chest, when you're staring at the stars, or watching someone you love fall asleep, or feeling a presence you cannot name, know this: you are not imagining it. You are remembering. The journey your soul took is still taking, through realms most will never speak of. But you came here to remember. And now, some part of you does. So take a breath. Software slow. Sacred. Let this remembrance live inside you. And if something in you was stirred, if a name surfaced, a memory flickered, or a peace you can't explain settled over your heart, then perhaps someone walked beside you during this video. An ancestor, a soul companion, your own higher self. Whisper back to them if you like. They will hear you, and if you feel called, Share in the comments what you remembered. Not because you owe anyone your story, but because someone else might be searching for theirs, and your words could be the key. Like, comment, subscribe. But more than that, live as one who remembers, because you do. This was not just a video, it was a return, and you are home.